5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
Welcome in to the Thursday edition of the Patrick Johnson Show as we get set to lead you into basketball coverage between the East Carolina Pirates and the Wichita State Shockers. I'm Philip Pilkington filling in for the P-Man today as Patrick is already over inside Williams Arena, Minges Coliseum for tonight's contest. Be sure to tune in right here on 94.3 The Game or our sister station 107.9 for tonight's game. Network coverage will start at 6:30 for that 7:02 tip if you're unable to make it out to the arena. Rest of the weekend schedule on our networks looks like this. We'll have a special lead-in edition of the Patrick Johnson Show into Pirate Baseball tomorrow at 3 o'clock. 3:45, Scott Rogers and Coach O will go on the air for that opening day game against the Rider Broncs, as Trey Savage will be getting the opening day start for the East Carolina Pirates. Saturday, it all happens at 2 o'clock. That means a 1:45 airtime right here on 94.3 The Game. Sunday, little weird. 107.9 will have our normal beat shows. Therefore, 94.3 The Game starting at 1:30 for that 2 o'clock tip. We'll have East Carolina and Tulane. Our sister station, Talk 103.7, will have the baseball broadcast. First pitch for that one is scheduled just after 1 o'clock. We are going to talk some basketball here in our first segment, as well as in our third when we'll be joined by Brian Mull, basketball writer. We'll talk about Pirate basketball and beyond with him. And in our second segment, we will be joined by Scott Shook as he is live from the Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Racing, ahead of tonight's blue-green duels to set the starting lineup for the Daytona 500. I am joined today by Dom Kasulki behind the glass, as well as intern William. How's it going, Dom?
What's up, Philip? I'm doing great today. I'm ready to talk about some ECU basketball.
He sounds pumped, ladies and gentlemen. And as we sit here and talk about ECU basketball, it was a rough little stretch for them. They lost 3 in a row. They came back. They put up a phenomenal offense performance down in San Antonio over this past weekend, defeating the Roadrunners 84-73, the most points the Pirates had scored since November the 21st against Kennesaw State when they put up 85. This team has struggled offensively, but when they get it going, they've been unstoppable. Can they do it tonight? It's going to be tough. This Wichita State team, despite having a pretty rough record coming in at 10-14 on the season and just 2-9 in league play, has been playing a lot better since the Pirates last saw them. The game following the game against the Pirates, they defeated the SMU Mustangs 77-72. They do have a later win against UTSA. They've only won 2 of their last 5, but they put up a tough fight against FAU last time out, actually putting the 20th ranked Owls in overtime. It ended up falling in that one 95-82 after being just blown out in the extra period. So, gentlemen, I ask you, we will start with Dom. Are you back on board with this Pirate program? They're like a toxic relationship. They tick us off. We're ready to leave. And then right as we are about to give up on the season, they go up and put a phenomenal offensive performance up. They're playing Wichita, who they are ahead of in the standings tonight. Same thing on Sunday when they take on Tulane. They're ahead of Tulane in the standings. The next Saturday, they're going to place the Rice Owls, another team which they are ahead of in the standings. And they're 5-0 this year against teams that they currently rank higher than in the American Athletic Conference.
Well, I am really excited about tonight, but it's because I really like basketball. ECU basketball, I'm not sold on as much anymore. I had really high expectations for the season, but it just seems like we're too inconsistent. Brandon Johnson could go for 30 like he did last game, and then the next game have a 3-point game and not play as much. He had seemed to battle some injuries so far this season and even trying to play through some in Charlotte, but I don't think that it's us anymore. I'm ready for ECU baseball. We're always top dogs in that, and I'm ready to go to Omaha in ECU baseball.
Sounds like Dom is throwing in the towel when it comes to basketball season and is fully ready for baseball season. I like that he said that we're going to Omaha. Earlier today, Steven Igo said we weren't. Also, Jonathan Wagner said we weren't. However, me, Scott Rogers and Scott Lorbacher are more on the trend of the Pirates going to Omaha here in 2024. So now we're going to bring in our intern, William. William, are you still on this Pirate bandwagon when it comes to basketball, or are you just ready for 4 o'clock tomorrow? Now, note before I let him talk, he is a very biased baseball guy as it is. He's in there quoting stats from the 1940s. Baseball is definitely his sport. So I have a prediction as to what he might say. But honestly, the Pirates could probably be undefeated in basketball, and he'd still say the same thing.
All right, I do love Pirate basketball, and I love watching it. I'm going to the game tonight, and I want to see them win. But I think as all ECU fans are like, we like seeing that ranked number next to our name at sports. And that's something that we have at baseball. So I think everybody's looking forward to baseball season, and while basketball season might not have gone as we wanted it to or as we expected, we have high hopes for baseball, and hopefully we want to have a shot at Omaha.
Well, at least the consensus in the room does seem like we are not totally giving up on Pirate basketball. You can never blame Pirate fans for being excited for baseball, and I don't think that's a knock on the basketball team as much as it's just a credit to Coach Godwin, Coach Palumbo, AK, the rest of the staff, and the team that we've seen. Obviously, Coach Godwin will start his 10th year at the helm of the Pirate program tomorrow, and he has done a wonderful job there. So I think that's the big reason that we're so excited for baseball. Unfortunately, basketball hasn't been, what we wanted it. But I think Dom's back on the mic now. So I ask you, Dom, look, we've seen it time and time again in this conference this year. Anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And I know that sounds cliche, but seriously, this is one of the more competitive conferences in the country. So I don't see any games, looking at the rest of the schedule for East Carolina, that I'm going to go in just marking down as a loss automatically. I mean, I know we still have to play Memphis on February 29th, but the Memphis Tigers have struggled against teams below them in the standings as well.
I think we're right there with every team, and it feels like after every win, ECU is, that's kind of what you're asking right now. It feels like, are we back? Is there a chance that we finally put it together? Because we have all the pieces we want. We have some depth coming back with Quentin DeBounge coming out of injury, Jaden Walker off the bench. I guess we don't always know who's coming off the bench with Schwartz. Ezra Assar has come off the bench for a few games. I don't know exactly what he's thinking with the lineups. I'm not criticizing them, but I don't know if we're ever going to get in a rhythm as a group and go out and win conference games consistently if we're changing the lineup every week.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, it's not really a knock on Schwartz as much as no one really other than R.J. Felton and Brandon Johnson have emerged to play consistent basketball. Obviously, Jaden Walker was hurt early in the year, and much like last year, we're seeing once he is healthy and gets in his full groove, he is performing outstandingly with 13 assists last time out. That is a great number in the NBA and an even more impressive number at the collegiate ranks. So now we're going to talk about the opponent a little bit, the Wichita State Shockers. As mentioned, they've won 2 of their last 5, yet not great, but for a team that started very abysmally in conference play, the first time the Pirates saw them, they had not even won a conference game. This is a team under a first-year head coach that I think is finally getting it figured out. When you look at the guys who are top 7 on their team in scoring, they are either juniors or seniors. This is a team, despite struggles, has not seemed to turn on each other. We're going to talk to Brian Mull about this later, but as bad as it's been, especially for a program with such great history, a team that has been to the NCAA tournament of recent years and made noise in the NCAA tournament, that's not what they're used to in Wichita. They're not used to struggling this way, but I think this team has stayed together. It's something that's very tough to do, but it's something that Pirate fans know very well after what we witnessed this fall with the football record not being where it was, but the team still seemed to be very much together. And I think that's the thing that you can say about this Wichita State team. They upset SMU. They took FAU to the wire where they lost in overtime. So they've proven that they can go up there and they have the tenacity to go up there and play with anybody. So if the Pirates are not firing on all cylinders tonight, this is one that could jump up and bite them. However, I would really be disappointed if this happens. I think this team has found their footing. I think not having a conference bye at any point until last week in the midweek was starting to take its toll on this roster. I think the team was tired. And Coach Schwartz talked about it going into that bye, how they just need some time just to get shots up and just watch the ball go in the basket and not necessarily be in a practice setting, something they had not been able to do, but it was something they were able to do heading into that UTSA game a week ago. However, ironically, the one guy who did not get any shots up was Brandon Johnson. He dealt with a hip pointer again in the game against Charlotte, which Dom mentioned earlier, and he missed Monday and Tuesday of practice that week, which was really the time when a lot of guys were just practicing on their own and getting shots up, but he looked phenomenal in the game, dropping a career-high 30 points. We will see what the Pirates do tonight, though. They, as mentioned, and we probably won't have much time to preview the Tulane Green Wave game tomorrow just because it's our only show. We're going to be wrapping this up and previewing baseball for the weekend, but they welcome in a tough Tulane team on Sunday. This Green Wave team comes in 4-7 in league play, but don't let that record fool you. They can shoot the basketball. They've scored 90-plus 8 times already this season, and this is a team much like UTSA that relies on offense, doesn't really have a very good defense, so the Pirates will probably have to do what they did last weekend in order to be successful against Tulane. However, I do believe Tulane is a little bit tougher than UTSA. So we're going to get our first time out here on the Thursday edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. On the other side, we will be joined by Scott Shook live from Daytona, and stay with us here on the Thursday edition of the Patrick Johnson Show.
It's Greenville Toyota's Winter Wrap-Up Event. Wrap up a great deal on over 100 pre-owned vehicles, starting under $15,000. We have all makes and models, including luxury. Plus, wrap up a huge warranty and no-charge maintenance. Hurry into Greenville Toyota.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins', we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hey, grab me one too.
When a place is as special as this, you don't want to change a thing. You simply want to enjoy it, just as it is. That was our inspiration behind Bow Coast West, our newest community in Beaufort, North Carolina. Embrace all that we love about this very special place and make it easy for families to enjoy all that this coastal lifestyle has to offer. Be inspired. Bow Coast West.
It's Greenville Toyota's Winter Wrap-Up Event. We're wrapping up the year with our biggest savings. Shop new Camrys and RAV4s, $289 a month. Need credit? Get pre-qualified today. Wrap up a great deal with payments from $289 at Greenville Toyota.
You ready for this?
Oh, I'm very ready. Okay, ready?
You ready?
Streaming to the world at 943thegame.com. This is the Patrick Johnson Show. Now in all his glory, here's the P-Man.
Welcome back into our Thursday edition of the Patrick Johnson Show as we get ready for Daytona 500 week, and we are joined live from the World Center of Racing by Scott Shook. Shook, how's it going, man?
We're actually right outside the World Center racing at the comfy confines of the Quality Inn on International Speedway Boulevard. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm awesome. I'm ready for tonight. And I do have a bone to pick with you because you are down in Daytona and I am not. What happened to our Hendrick Chevrolets last night? We are not sitting on the front row.
Look.
Your boy Chase Elliott didn't do it. My boy William Byron didn't do it. Old reliable Alex Bowman, who's been on the front row for the last 6 Daytona 500s, qualified like 25th. What the heck happened last night?
How many of those Daytona 500s did Hendrick win?
None of them. We hadn't won since 2014.
There you go. All right. So Ford's proved they could run all fast by themselves, but the Daytona 500 is not running by yourself, as you know that. You got to get up front in the last 20 laps of the race and bring it home, which unfortunately I think this year may in fact be on Monday night, but we'll see. Weather doesn't look great, but the weather's good right now. Going to head into the twin qualifying races this evening and try to watch ECU basketball on the cell phone while I watch racing in front of me. So.
Hey, you got to.
And by the way, is that where Prima Donna is tonight? Is he over at Minji's?
Yeah, he is. He's over at Minji's already.
Okay. God bless Cy Seymour. You know what I'm saying?
I couldn't agree with that more. I love it. Well, you mentioned the weather. Unfortunately, it doesn't look good for Sunday. Doesn't really look good for tomorrow either. Xfinity qualifying could get rained out, but I'm at least glad you guys are enjoying a little bit of the good weather yesterday and today. But it looked a little cold last night. I saw Jamie Little bundled up. Is it supposed to be chilly down there tonight?
It's a little chilly. I mean, the sun goes down, the wind blows off the ocean. It's not necessarily warm, but I think tomorrow night's going to be good. We're going to get a good truck race in, which traditionally, and I've been to every truck race at Daytona going all the way back to 2000 when they first ran the trucks here. Truck race is typically the best race of the weekend, and not only this week is ECU's own Rebecca Moffitt's son is racing in the truck series this weekend, so that'll be fun to see. So we'll have some Teddy lineage in the race again on the truck series. But, yeah, Saturday and Sunday look a little rough. Sunday there may be a chance they get track died out right Sunday evening to get it in, but weather looks tough over the weekend. So we'll see. But we got another crowd. Got a good crowd from Greenville here. We got some other folks on a boat trying to make it up. And we'll see if they make it. And if they do, we'll all have a good time no matter what.
Well, hopefully the races do live up to expectations. And good luck to Thad Moffitt in his truck series. I think this will be his first truck series race ever at Daytona. I know he has ran some truck series races. He was all but full-time in the ARCA Menard series back in 2020, but has bounced around and not really had a full ride, it seems like, since then. But he will be full-time in the truck series this season, obviously that being the grandson of Richard Petty.
That's going to be exciting. And look, the truck race always exciting. They go fast, almost fast as Cup cars, and half of them can't drive. So it's fun to watch them try to get around the super speedway doing that. But we look forward to that. And I look forward to seeing, we might sneak in the infield over there and see if we can't meet up with him and see him tomorrow. So that's going to be exciting, sure. But we'll see how the weekend. Every year with Daytona, there's some kind of thing, something happens, some kind of drama happens, and even if it takes till Monday, that's fine. We're going to stay down and call in sick on Tuesday. So don't tell anybody.
I won't. My dad told me he's down there. He's worried that he would not be able to call in sick Tuesday. So he's praying for that Sunday start. And he's bad luck. He was there when Juan Pablo hit the jet dryer, which was the first time it was ever ran on Monday. And he was also there in 2020. He's only been to 4 or 5 Daytona 500s, but 2020 was the second time the race had ever been ran on Monday. That was my first Daytona 500, but I got to see Trump, so that part was cool.
Yeah, well, we were here, and the guy that's here with me today, Mike Lindsay, last time he came was 2020 as well. So I thought it was his fault, but it turns out it's your dad's fault.
Yep, we'll definitely blame my dad. So speaking of that drama, I think the drama's tonight, Shook. 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson is going to have to race his way into the field. When you look at the opening cars, Fast Pasta, Anthony Alfredo is already in on time. So is David Reagan, who will be making, I believe, his 17th Daytona 500 start. However, the 7-time champion, arguably the greatest of this generation, Jimmy Johnson, is not. Do you see him racing his way in tonight in duel number 1? And are you excited for the drama that is about to unfold at just after 7 o'clock down in Daytona Beach?
When normally you talk about Jimmy Johnson, you talk about a Chevrolet's being fast, but Toyotas last night weren't very fast, and Jimmy Johnson's running a Toyota this year, interestingly enough. So we'll see. But I got to think, you get down towards the end if he really wants it. As long as they don't have a mistake, right? You don't have a mistake on pit road. And typically these races the last couple of years have been a little bit calm because not a lot of people are racing in, but you never know what happens. You got to get through the field and you got to have a pit stop in these twin 150s. So, you got to execute. But if he's in it towards the end, I'm sure he'll be there and I'm sure he'll qualify. But, you never know if he has a problem on pit road or something else goes wrong.
Yeah, 100%. And, you mentioned the Toyotas being slow.
Is he in the first one or the second one?
He's in the first one.
First one. Okay, good.
Yeah, so, you mentioned the Toyotas not having speed. They had no one in the top 10 last night. They didn't have anybody in the top 10 last year either. Bubba Wallace qualified 11th. He was the highest Toyota last year. I'm trying to pull up this year's, and my
Which, by the way, down here breaks no one's heart, by the way. You understand, right?
I'm sure it didn't. I'm looking here. The highest qualifying Toyota last night. Wow, I'm having to scroll.
Yeah, way down.
Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. down there in 26.
Denny Hamlin's way down.
Yeah. So, the Toyota effect could have something to do with it. But, the only thing that worries me with Jimmy is I want to say it was 2 years ago. It was like the year the Biff got in. Yeah, so that was 2022, I think. It was one of those where it was the first year with the next-gen car, and guys were losing the draft a lot, and whoever got in when the second duel, it was one of those where he was way off the draft, but someone else ended up losing it too, and he linked up with another car and passed the guy at the last second.
Yeah, barely got in.
Yeah, I don't even remember who those. I want to say it was Kaz Gralla got in over somebody else. I don't even think that was the Biff specifically, but it was Yuri ran it for NY Racing. So what worries me with Jimmy is kind of just if it's one of those where the pack doesn't stay together. If they do green flag pit stops at what would probably be a little around lap 20, they actually usually come in a little early on these. And if it splits the field up, I think that's maybe a way Jimmy gets hosed. I would hate to see it. I want to see Jimmy in, but that worries me a little bit.
Yeah, and you have a point on that because a lot of times they'll run tight, and they'll come in a pit. The Ford's a pit, the Chevy's a pit, the Toyota's a pit, and somebody misses it just a little bit. You get out on the road, you get back out on the track, and you miss that pack just a little bit. You break up into three distinct packs. Then it really spreads out the racetrack. You really don't know how much that means until you're down here and see how big the place is, right? But if you get too spread out, then you won't get a caution. Nothing happens. But like I said, you make a mistake on pit road, something other than the talent in the driver occurs, and that can ruin your chance. Even if you have a fast car, he could have a real fast car, but get stuck in the back, and there you go.
Yeah, especially with the smaller packs. So let's move on to Sunday and the Great American Race. There's a lot of guys who have never won this thing. Now, obviously, we could have a repeat winner. We could have Denny Hamlin go out and win his fourth. God, please don't let that happen. We could have Joey win it again. Please don't let that happen.
Yeah.
But there's a handful of guys in this field. Oh, sorry about that. What were you about to say?
No, I was just agreeing with you on those last two counts.
But, there's a lot of guys in this field. Let's look at Brad Keselowski. Active winningest super speedway driver with 7. Hasn't won at Daytona since 2016. Your guy, Chase Elliott, 3 super speedway wins, never won the Daytona 500. Kyle Busch will be running in his 20th speed weeks. It's actually his 19th Daytona 500 because Yuri broke his legs. He's a solid super speedway racer. My guy, William Byron, 3 super speedway wins, no Daytona 500. If somebody who has never won this race is going to win it on Sunday, who's it going to be?
Out of that group that you said, other than a newer driver breaking through it, getting a first win, which happens on quite a few occasions, and you look back on the front row, Michael McDowell up there. I mean, who knows? I mean, he was a first-time winner a couple years ago, won the race. But out of those that you called, I think running for Richard Childress Racing, Kyle Busch, and what would be interesting if Kyle Busch actually won it Sunday, Monday, whenever it was, see the reaction of the crowd. Used to years ago, everybody boo and throw beer cans, but I wouldn't be surprised it didn't have a lot of cheers. Last year, he actually won the Daytona 500, but they had extra laps, so it was a 502 or whatever, so he lost it in overtime. But watch out for Kyle Busch, no question.
The interesting thing about Kyle, and I want your just personal take on this, because I used to not like Kyle either. I thought when he drove the 5 car for Hendrick, he was kind of a jerk. I honestly think when he went over to Gibbs, Coach Gibbs kind of cleaned up his act, but I think as NASCAR fans, we subconsciously still disliked him. But now that he's over at RCR, it's almost like there's a degree of separation from his butthead days, and we've all kind of I don't hate Kyle as much as I used to. What about you?
I agree. We hate other people now, but you're right. It happened to me over the time. I almost felt sorry for Jeff Gordon at one point in time, and I got over that real quick. And I used to hate Kurt Busch, and then after a while I started, Kurt was okay. And you just hate Jimmy Johnson. Well, Jimmy Johnson's okay, and it happens every now and then. Guys like that hang out long enough. Like I said, if last year he almost won, I said, this actually be all right. And of course, us old Earnhardt fans that love, Richard Childress racing, that would kind of be that'd be a fun thing to see if Richard get another win at Daytona 500.
Of course, yeah, it definitely would. Last time they won was, I remember the year. It was whenever AD won, whenever Austin Dillon won his. Was that 2016, 2017?
Yes, and all right, so that had been 20 years. If I'm not mistaken, it had been there have been 2 times that the race has been held on the anniversary of Earnhardt's death.
Okay.
And Richard Childress has won both of them.
All right, so he won one with Harvick.
Yeah.
Right? Because Harvick edged out Mark Martin in like 06 or something like that.
His son. Yeah. His grandson. That's right.
Yep.
And both times, and if you figure, those are he's won the 500 3 times, and there's a bunch of 3s and 6s in there, if you go through and do the math, right, on, Earnhardt's, 20 times not winning, or 60 times not winning a race, 20 times at the Daytona 500, it was 3.
Yeah.
3 years later, obviously he gets killed. 3 years after that, his son wins. 3 years after that, Richard Childress wins again. So there's a lot of similarities between all that. I don't know if there's any this year, but it'd be nice to see Richard Childress get another one. And if that's, with Kyle Busch, that'd be a great storyline, right?
I definitely think it would, and you did a little deeper dive on the facts there than I did, so I appreciate it. That's the part of being a sports fan, right? Is finding those trends so we know who to bet on. Not that we can do that in North Carolina yet. All right, so we won't keep you too long, but we appreciate you joining us. But before we let you go,
who's going to win tonight in basketball? I mean, Pirates we need this win over Wichita State. If we can win tonight, that means we just swept Temple and Wichita State in the same year, and I don't, it says a lot about kind of the direction of where the Pirates are going and the direction of some of the other teams in the league are going. And I think that bodes well for our future. But, God, it would be great to get this win tonight. Tulane on Sunday, and then Rice is gettable on the road. You got Memphis coming back in here after that. I mean, we got a chance to really get some things going. Hopefully the Pirates that made some baskets the other night on the road can show up this evening and get a win. That would be a big deal.
It would be. I feel good about tonight. Tulane worries me. They can put up some points.
Yeah.
They scored 98 times this year. That worries me. But, all right, real quick before we let you go, who wins on Sunday, and who is your preseason championship pick, and how does your boy Chase Elliott end up this year?
Well, that's easy as Chase, or the only thing I would say is who wins on Sunday would be somebody that I have in our pool that we draw on Sunday morning.
There you go. Hey, my last trip to the 500, I drew Austin Cindric and first career win as a rookie. So last time I was at the 500, hopefully I can pass a good look on to you.
That's exactly right. But I think Chase Elliott's going to have a good year this year in the championship points. Of course, I'll say he's going to win because I'm going to pull for him. But I after last year, not winning and the whole situation, just terrible year all around. They flushed out of their system. Watch out for him this year. I think he gets it done.
If anybody can do it, it's him and Alan Gustafson over there at Hendrick Motorsports. So, all right, Shook. Well, thanks for joining us, and have a great weekend, man.
All right, you do a hell of a lot better job on this than Patrick does.
Well, Patrick is a fake NASCAR fan.
Exactly right.
All right, take it easy, Shook.
I'll talk to you. All right,
see you.
Bye.
All righty, there he is, Scott Shook. We thank you for joining. We thank him for joining us. And sorry to all you non-NASCAR fans, we had to do one NASCAR segment with the season starting tonight, as points will actually be given out at the dual races. So that will wrap it up for our second segment. On the other side of this timeout, we will be joined by Brian Mull to talk Pirate basketball, both tonight and this weekend, as well as other big stuff going on this weekend around the world of college hoops.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter,
Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Fifth Street Hardware is the home of the $9 lunch special Tuesday through Fridays. $9 specials every day, including the famous Burger Day on Tuesdays, Flatbread Pizza Wednesday, the famous Fifth Street Hardware Reuben on Thursday, and fried fish or shrimp on Friday. Plus trivia on Wednesday nights and live music every Thursday nights. And the Prime Rib Brunch Buffet has returned on Sundays. You heard that right. The Brunch Buffet with all the great items, including prime rib. Fifth Street Hardware in downtown Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, Newbern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946.
We have you covered with all the ECU news and beyond that you need for the drive home. The Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into our Wednesday edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. College basketball going on tonight as the East Carolina Pirates will be trying to sweep the season series with the Wichita State Shockers. We are joined by basketball and golf writer Brian Mull. How's it going, Brian?
It's going well. Hope everybody's enjoying this beautiful weather, nice day, and a big weekend of college basketball ahead.
It really is, and we're going to start talking about the Pirates, and then we are going to delve into this weekend of college basketball because it is going to be exciting. But the Pirates here, we were talking about it on one of our other shows this week. They're kind of like a toxic relationship. You're ready to break up with them. They've beat you down, and then they put up 84 points and win by 11, wire to wire at UTSA. I don't know how to explain it, but they've got us all back, and they host the Wichita State Shockers tonight. What do you think the Pirates have to do, Brian, to sweep the season series against a Wichita State team that I think is much improved from when the Pirates saw them back on January 24th?
They need to maintain that offensive flow and magic that they found out in San Antonio, knocking down 13 threes, surpassing the 80-point mark for the first time in what feels like forever. Jaden Walker with just an incredible line there with 13 assists. I mean, just don't see that in college basketball. So certainly the ball was moving well, 21 assists on 33 field goals. I mean, all those things showed me that they ran their offense, got a lot of really good shots, and got contributions from four guys in double figures with, of course, the monster night from Brandon Johnson. So I think, this is a game at home against another team in the middle to the bottom of the American rebuilding program with, Paul Mills, I think, will do a terrific job there, but the roster's a little limited. ECU, like you said, with some great momentum coming back. Like, this is a stretch of the season where, like, they need to string a few together. They need to show that they've turned a corner and they can win 3 or 4. And the offense, the defense has been pretty consistent, but I think the offense they've got to keep doing what they were doing the other night.
And as Brian mentioned, the next actually 3 games are against teams below the Pirates in the standings, which they are a perfect 5-0 against this year, teams ranked below them in the standings. However, Tulane might be a little bit of a weird one. We're going to get to them in a second, but let's talk about Wichita State for a moment. This is a team who has had a rough year, but it seems to me when I watch them play, Brian, and feel free to step in and totally disregard my statement if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of juniors in this lineup. When you look at their top 3 scores, they're all upperclassmen. And this team, despite struggling maybe in the win-loss column, seems to be still very veteran-led and still in a spot where they don't seem to be turning on each other. And I think they are playing better basketball than they were a month and a half ago.
I would agree with you. I know they are disappointed and hungry for a win, but when you kind of go back and break down their last 3 weeks or a month or so, I mean, they lost by 9 at FAU on the road. They lost by 4 at USF on the road. They went to overtime with FAU at home in their most recent game. They played Memphis to a 2-point game, and they beat SMU. So this is a team that feels like they can beat anyone. They are a little limited in their roster makeup. They've got some pretty good size, and like you said, some veteran guys, but they don't really have that alpha guard that you'd love to have with 4 or 5 minutes left in a tight conference game who can really just impose his will onto the floor. And their depth is, what you would expect from a first-year coach who was essentially cobbling a roster together into the summer. So, these conference games, I don't care what conference, you can start at the 30th ranked conference and go all the way up to the Big 12 or the ACC. If you play poorly, you can lose. And I think we're seeing more of that. Yes, somebody's got to finish at the bottom of the standings, but the line between being 2-10 and 6-6 in a conference at this point in the season is very thin. And you can't take anybody for granted. Everybody has been able to kind of, have enough talent through the portal to be competitive and got to execute if you're the Pirates, and that starts on the offensive end. I'd like to see them come out and get off to a quick start. I think they've had some slow starts at home, and this is a game where they should be able to get a comfortable working margin in the first 10 minutes.
Let's hope they do. You don't want to drop one at home to a team you've already defeated on the road. But as the weekend goes on, they will host the Tulane Green Wave. This is a team that's 4-7 in league play. So by looking at that stat, you would favor the Pirates. However, this Tulane team, much like UTSA, but I think in a better version of UTSA, has all the offensive firepower that you can ask for in a conference like the American. This is a team that's put up 100 twice this year. They've put up 90+ 8 times this year, and in all of their wins, they've scored at least 81 points. Do you think the Pirates will have to win in a shootout in order to beat Tulane, or is there some hope that this Mike Schwartz suffocate you for 40 minutes defense can cause the Pirates and the Tulane Green Wave to get into a low-scoring slugfest? Because I think that's probably the Pirates' only chance at winning that basketball game on Sunday.
Yeah, they say styles make fights, and this is a classic battle of tempo. You have Tulane, who wants to play out in the open court, muddy up the game with kind of that matchup zone press that they'll throw at you, get some turnovers, get some runouts. Like you said, get the game up into the 80s, if not the 90s. They're comfortable. Then you have ECU, which is 13th in the American in tempo. Certainly Mike Schwartz, defensive-oriented guy, focused on that end, wants to make it a half-court game, force you to play 5-on-5 against his set defense. Feels like they can do that and rebound the basketball. So it'll be interesting to see. ECU would be fine with this game being in the 60s or low 70s, and Tulane wants much more than that. So whoever can dictate the pace, you would like to think on your court, it's easier to slow a fast team down than speed a slow team up. And as long as ECU can avoid turnovers, I think that'll be the key. That's really where Tulane gets a lot of its offense. They have very good guards. They have very good finishers in transition. And if you start throwing the ball around against them a little bit and just giving them freebies, their confidence gets up and those three-pointers start falling. So that'll be a big test for the backcourt. And because you can score against them in the half court. They're not an imposing defensive team in the half court whatsoever. So you just got to give yourself those opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely think slowing them down would help. The only thing that worries me when you're, a slower paced team is if you get down, it can be sometimes hard to speed up that other team. Even if you feel like you're better than them, take it back to the 2018 first round of the NCAA tournament where Virginia, one of the slowest teams in the country, was down to University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and just didn't have the pace to get back. Now, I think ECU is a lot more faster than the 2018 Virginia Cavaliers, but this is a game, I think, Brian, if you turn that ball over early and get down, I just don't know if the Pirates can claw their way back. They've proved they can do it sometimes this year, but against a team like Tulane, I think if they get down early, they're hosed.
No, I agree. And this is a Tulane team that when you look at their offensive numbers, they're quite impressive. I mean, they are top 25 in the nation in effective field goal percentage, turnover percentage, getting to the free throw line, fifth in that category. They make two-pointers at an extremely high rate. And, again, they're the 10th fastest team in the nation on an adjusted tempo basis. So they can score. But you've just got to muddy it up. When you look at some of the games where they've struggled, they've been slowed down to a 60s, mid-60s, high 60s pace and not been as comfortable in that type of setting.
Well, let's hope the Pirates can make it 3 in a row with a pair of victories this weekend. We'll move on to elsewhere in college basketball. We'll stay in the state of North Carolina with the University of North Carolina. This is a team, Brian, who's lost 3 of their last 5. When you look at one of those 2 wins, it was an ugly one down in Coral Gables. Now, however, their other win coming at home against the Duke Blue Devils was probably the best game the North Carolina Tar Heels have played all season. If you're a Carolina fan, are you hitting the panic button right now, or is this just part of, hey, it's college basketball, you're late in league play, you're a little tired, you're a little banged up, same as everybody else, and this is just the nature of the business?
It really is. Like, I try not to overreact this time of the year. I mean, certainly you want to have a feeling that your team is getting better in February, and you don't you want to avoid any type of long losing streak or shooting slump or anything of that nature. But when you break down the look, Miami's always a tough game. I don't care where they're ranked. Jim Larinaga is a terrific coach. They play with such freedom on offense and on the road. That's always going to be a tough game. And then when you look at what Syracuse did, they just shot, they shot 60%, yet Carolina still had an opportunity late in that game to pull it out. They just fumbled away a couple of possessions and didn't get the right shots. A couple of threes rimmed out. So it really, as well as Syracuse played for 38 minutes in that basketball game, Carolina still could have stolen it. So I don't think that's one you worry about too much. And you also have to watch this time of the year, like, there's a lot of desperate, hungry teams. I mean, there's a lot of teams who are in the middle of these conferences who've not been consistently able to put it together, but certainly have the talent, as we saw from Syracuse's backcourt. And they're desperate. They're hungry. They know that they have to reel off some wins, and not just wins, but quality quad A, quad 1, tier A teams, and boost that resume to have any type of opportunity to get selected to the 68-man field. So it's, motivation. It's not always who you play, but sometimes when you play them. And I think they just caught a very dialed-in Syracuse team that was looking for a marquee victory in Autry's first season, and they got it.
Well, I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here since college baseball season is less than 24 hours away, but you're talking about those teams on the bubble and how these teams in these major conferences need those wins to portray themselves ahead of the rest of the field. One of the conferences no one is talking about right now is the Mountain West. This is going to be somewhere from a 3 to 5 bid league, it looks like. Are these teams really that good? I know New Mexico's pretty solid. Obviously, San Diego State was in the Final Four just a year ago, but are these teams ready to go on and potentially make a run in the tournament when you look at teams such as Nevada, Boise State? Because, Colorado State obviously got all the preseason hype, and they have not been one of the teams at the top of the league. Like I said, I think they're probably going to have a team playing in that first 4 and probably going to be a multi-bid league this year.
Yeah, they certainly are. They did a nice job. If you compare, like, the Atlantic 10, which considers itself comparable to the Mountain West, The Mountain West is in position, like you said, to get multiple bids, maybe 3 or 4 teams. Atlantic 10 is looking like it could very possibly be a one-bid league. And really the difference is the Mountain West perform better in November and December, which is when you build your conference resume together. They picked up a lot of quality non-conference wins. They scheduled well and competed well in the games that they lost. And the committee generally shows favor on that as well. Up until last year, the Mountain West had always underperformed in the NCAA tournament. And then certainly San Diego State threw all of that out the window with a tremendous run last year. And if I had to put my finger on why, I think sometimes the guard play in that league is maybe not quite at the standard that you would hope to have, that you need to advance through the bracket. They have solid players. They have really good teams, well coached, good systems, but you know, you get in that matchup, you just sometimes the plays don't matter. It's about the players. And, you know, they'll have a little bit to prove to me still as a whole, as a conference. It wouldn't surprise me if any of those teams made a run to the Sweet 16 with the right draw. But, look, it's a great league, and it's a league that's probably benefiting somewhat from the demise of the Pac-12.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously not as strong of an ACC as we've seen in the last years as last year's as well. But hey, like you said, sometimes it ain't about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, and we will see if any of those teams can make a deep run come March. I want to talk about the marquee game next on Saturday. You got the number 1 UConn Huskies hosting Marquette. UConn coming into this one 23-2. They haven't lost since their first league game against Seton Hall, and their only other loss is in Allen Fieldhouse, where teams always seem to struggle. This Marquette team, they've won 8 in a row, but Brian, they've just been holding serve against teams they should beat. I know I would never count out a Shaka Smart coached ball club, but are the Golden Eagles of Marquette truthfully ready to go into Hartford and make this a game? I know they had some big wins early in the season. They beat Kansas. They've beat Texas. But this UConn team, they won a national championship a year ago, and they're looking like the front runners again here in 2024.
Yeah, UConn's the scariest team in the country. I don't think there's a lot of scary teams. There's a lot of good teams, and there's a lot of teams that when they're on and making shots can look very good. But night in, night out, UConn just has so many different ways to get it done. They're so solid on both ends. They're big. They're veteran. Tristan Newton's, an All-American, triple-double machine. And I think this will be a very tough spot for Marquette. You know, it's surprising. These teams, they play twice, but they've yet to play. Here we are, February 7th. And to talk about backloading the schedule with some marquee games. This will be a tough one for Marquette. I love what Shaka's done with this team. A lot of continuity, a lot of freedom on offense. Really joyful way to play basketball. It's fun to watch them. Nothing's real scripted. They certainly play hard on defense and try to turn you over. But this UConn team, man, they're just tough. They're proven. They're experienced, and Danny Hurley is a terrific coach. I mean, maybe an elite coach now with so many other coaches having retired, and they are the real deal. I think Marquette has a good shot though on March 6th in the last game of the regular season when they have to host the Huskies in Milwaukee.
All righty, Brian. Well, we thank you for joining us. Any other games you would like to highlight this weekend? Or there's not really much going on tonight, honestly. I think there's 3 ranked games. Anybody you want to highlight else? Anyone else, you want to highlight before we let you get out of here?
Yeah, there's an interesting game on Saturday in the SEC. Kentucky, the Big Blue, which has had a little bit of a rocky run here of late, heads down to Auburn, to the Plains. Bo Jackson, Charles Barkley, they're all going to be in the house. Game day is going to be there, I think. And Auburn is 13-0 at home. And not only are they 13-0, they've won every game by at least 10 points, which in the last couple of weeks includes blowouts of Alabama and a 40-point thrashing of nationally ranked South Carolina last night. So they in that building, they are special. And Kentucky, I still think is a Final Four caliber team. They just haven't quite put it all together yet, but that'll be a fascinating matchup to me. It should be a high-level game.
Yeah, we'll see if Kentucky comes in a little ticked off. They did lose at home to a bubble team in the Gonzaga Bulldogs over this past weekend. Well, that'll do it for our segment here. Appreciate you joining us, Brian.
Yeah, everybody, thanks a lot, and everybody have a great weekend.
All right, thanks to Brian for joining us. There he goes. We're going to hit on – we got a little time left, boys, so we're going to hit on One kind of really not a lot of breaking news out of the NFL today, or out of sports today, other than the fact that out of the NFL, the Seahawks will not release Geno Smith. If they released him before tomorrow, they could save $12.7 million, but they are going to stick with him, which means either, hey, he's the starter, or B, they're going to draft somebody, and obviously won't get one of the big three having the, sorry, I originally had it in front of me, 16th pick in the draft, but they could get a Bo Nix type at that spot. But, hey, they might just be running with Geno altogether, so we'll see. They got some good receiving core. Dom, what are your thoughts on Seattle running with Geno and sticking with him?
I think they should take their money. I think they need to start Drew Lock or draft someone. I don't know what they want to do outside of Geno, but I think they should get their money. It does end up being a big deal. He played 2 less games than he did the season before, where he won Comeback Player of the Year. Through 600 less yards this season, 10 less touchdowns, 2 less interceptions. I guess that is a little bit better, but 10 less touchdowns. I think he had a really good season, and he's an average quarterback. That's my take on it.
So you just think he keeps him in purgatory? Is that the reason you want to move on?
There's nothing. He's not taking him past the first round. He might get in the wild card. And 49ers are in that division. They're still going to be one of the top dogs. I don't think they're beating them in there. And I think the Rams are better than them with Geno as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm not opposed to them keeping him. I just don't see a clear path if you do move on from him in front of them right now. Just with that 16th pick, you're too far back to trade for one of the top dogs. But, hey, you could have somebody fall to you at 16 that you really like, or you get somebody in the second round. But what are your thoughts on this, William?
I, on the other hand, believe that they should stick with Geno Smith and add weapons around him. I believe that he is not an elite quarterback, but he's good enough to get the job done and can possibly be their franchise quarterback for a couple years to come. I believe that they have good wide receiver weapons with DK Metcalf and Njigba, and they might just need to get a few more line pieces or another receiver that can play in the backfield and go out in the slot. But he's a quarterback that's able to make plays using both his legs and his arm, and I want to see what they can do with him in the future if they do choose to keep him.
So my thing, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying there, William, I'm just wondering if they keep him, though. If, to Dom's point, they don't really ever make a run, and then you're at a point where you've built a good team around him, and then he retires, and then you're just kind of stuck because you're too bad to be bad. But, hey, then you could look at, if there's a potential free agent coming on the market at that time. Obviously, if they were to cut him, which they're not, then you'd have free up cap space to sign Kirk Cousins this year. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him at 36 years old. Oh, yeah, Dom, what are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins? Since I got Dom back on here, we got a minute and a half left. Dom, what's going on with you, boy Kurt?
I think Kirk is re-signing with us, and he's going to take a bit of a pay cut, not a massive pay cut. He'll make $37.5 million a year instead of the $45 million that the reports have came out and said. And then we will re-sign Justin Jefferson, and we'll still trade up and draft either Drake May or Jaden Daniels, whoever's available, to sit under Kirk Cousins, just like Mahomes sat under Alex Smith. And we're going to have the next guy with the best receiver in the league. And it's a few years from now, we're going to be in those NFC Championship games. Just wait and see.
Wow, trading up from 11 to the top 3. Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a long trade up.
It's going to happen.
All right.
Lots of talk about it.
The Vikings fan himself, the grandson of a former Viking player. He knows more than we do, about his team. All righty, well, that will wrap it up here for us on the Wednesday edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. We want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. Thanks to Brian Mull for joining us. Thanks to Scott Shook for his annual visit on the day of the duels. Thanks to Dom as well as William. Stay tuned right here on 94.3 The Game, 6:30 network coverage for East Carolina and Wichita State ahead of that 7 o'clock tip. And also be sure to tune in all weekend for Pirate baseball as well as that basketball game on Sunday. Have a great rest of your evening, Pirate Nation.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport. Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a house